Welkom bij een nieuwe aflevering van Hup Bitcoin. Deze aflevering wordt mede mogelijk gemaakt door Bitcoinmeester en yield.com. We spreken deze keer met Jack Everitt. Hij is ontwikkelaar bij Thunder Games uit Londen en hij is bekend van het spelletje de Bitcoin Bounce. Het is een hele laagdrempelige manier om Bitcoin te leren kennen en satoshis te verdienen. We praten met hem over dit spel en hoe hij met Bitcoin in aanraking is gekomen. Veel luisterplezier.
Yeah, so my original job was special effects programming. So I was doing special effects for films. So like really hardcore graphics programming. And while I was doing that job, around 2008, I think 2009 is when the App Store started. And I saw a lot of people sort of making some money from, making these simple games. So I made my first, it wasn't really a game, it was an app. And ironically, it was a game/app that you could touch the screen and lightning bolts would come out of your fingers like a Van de Graaff generator type thing, or, like a Force Lightning from Star Wars. And that one got to number 2 in the paid chart or something in the early days of the App Store.
Cool.
So because I had a bit of money from that, I decided to leave my special effects job and just try and make my way in the mobile app space. And because it was just starting off, it was quite easy to get going. So I started making some games, just simple casual games. And I had another one in 2013 that got to number 1 in the free chart, which was, really good. And it was kind of a viral app. That one was a voodoo doll that you had to beat. You could beat him up, and it was kind of cruel, but it sort of took off because I think just because of it was slightly controversial. And then so I've been doing that. Various other games, none quite as successful as the 2 sort of viral hits I had. But just plugging away and following the latest trends in the App Store, trying to make money like everyone else. And
you still develop games for the App Store, of course.
Yes, but since sort of November last year, I just fully concentrated on Bitcoin games because I think I get the same feeling as when I first made apps for the App Store. It's like a early technology, and it's not early in terms of Bitcoin's life, but it's early in the way that Bitcoin's starting to be introduced into games now in a much more seamless way. Yeah. So I've decided to sort of pivot and specialize in that because not many people are right now. So I think it's kind of a good opportunity.
Yeah, I think gamers, game developers were one of the first groups to actually get to know Bitcoin in the early stage. Can you tell something about when you first started to know Bitcoin as a technology?
Yeah, I think it was. I can't remember the exact date, but I remember the blockchain was like 8 gigabytes or something. It was quite early on that I downloaded the Bitcoin Core wallet and just went to some faucets. I guess it must have been like 2011 or something. So I just looked into it as a kind of, what is it? I didn't really know anything about money. I knew something about sort of game currencies because I was doing, games and you'd have all these virtual currencies. So I just was interested in it from that perspective. But back then I remember just thinking it's way too complicated for anyone to really use this. I just didn't like having to copy and paste invoices or public keys. I just thought it was not going to work. Well, I didn't think it wasn't going to work. I just thought it's not going to work until you don't have to do this kind of stuff. But I did follow it. I did buy some as a little investment, and I did some mining, but only kind of casual mining. Just bought some off the shelf equipment.
On Mount Gox, you bought also some Bitcoin, or you?
No, but I did have some on Cryptsy that got that the person who ran that. I think I don't know if he's still alive, but he's never heard from again after he ran away to China. So I didn't use Mount Gox. I used when I bought some Bitcoin, I just used like a local UK exchange originally. But yeah,
was it peer-to-peer perhaps?
It was, yeah.
Okay, interesting. And what drew you to this technology, or I mean? Yeah,
so I think since we had the $20,000 high in at the end of 2017, I mean, I followed it all through 2017, but I still didn't see how it still had the sort of user experience issues that I saw 5 or 6 years before. I didn't really understand why it was getting so expensive. And then after that, I sort of learned a bit about finances and, what the monetary properties of it were. And I started to get a bit more confidence in the actual financial side of the technology. But then it was the Lightning Network that drew me to research more how I could use it in games, because it enables sort of the micro transactions. So you can reward people tiny amounts of money, or it has a lot of applications in games. For example, if someone dies in like a Mario style game, falls through a crack, you can charge them like a fraction of a penny to get an extra life or something. So it introduces different ways to monetize your game. And then I went to the Lightning conference in Berlin in November.
Last year, yeah.
Yeah, and saw what the Satoshi's Games and Zebedee and Donna Labs were doing with games. And yeah, it was working well. And then I started doing some research about the LNURL protocol, which sort of removes the need to copy and paste invoices between like the payee and the payer. And then once I experimented with that, and then magically it clicked for me. I was like, finally, I can use Bitcoin without having to copy and paste invoices. So it's just like happens behind the scenes. So with the touch of a button, you can just pay someone or receive some money. I don't know if that's been tried before without the Lightning Network and just the regular Bitcoin, but I don't think it has, because of the block time. You need to wait for it to confirm to receive the money. But
so for you, the Lightning Network obviously is more of the barrier is lower actually to develop or to use it, or
it's the user experience. So in my game, when you win a prize in Bitcoin Bounce, you can just tap a button. It opens a wallet on your phone, and then you just click accept or whatever the wallet button says. Do you want to accept this payment? And then it just gets transferred to you. You don't have to worry about copying and pasting anything. Like I remember when I first used Bitcoin, I was just nervous that just copy and pasting an invoice, I was like triple check it. It's not a good experience when you're worried, like if you've done it wrong, or it's such
it's a tricky process.
So it's basically the user experience of the Lightning Network is the best that I've seen, and it just circles back to when I originally looked into Bitcoin. It was from the virtual currency perspective of games. It was originally there was too many user experience problems, like having to wait for the transaction to confirm for 6 confirmations, having to copy and paste things. And so Lightning Network has sort of removed the need to wait for confirmations, and also people are thinking of like the wallets. We've got all these clever ways of removing the need to even copy and paste invoices. So yeah.
So yeah, for gaming, it's really suitable actually. Yeah, this network, this low barrier network, or yeah. And how did the whole idea for Bitcoin Bounce as a game, how did that come together actually?
Yeah, so when I was going to the Lightning conference last November, I created Bitcoin Bounce as a sort of demo, so that when I met people from Satoshi's Games and the other companies, that I could show them some ideas. And the original version of Bitcoin Bounce had Satoshis in the game. So you bounce along the blockchain level and collect Satoshis as you went through the level. And then you would cash out whenever you wanted. And I sort of evolved the concept, because when I showed people at the Lightning conference, they said to me things like, so this coin, they would say, is this coin actually Bitcoin? How is this coin relate? How is it connected to Bitcoin? And they were asking so many questions about how the Bitcoin was in the game that I felt, so I sort of pivoted on my idea, because I felt that when you're playing a game for the first time, you just want to learn how to play the game. You don't want to learn about Bitcoin, how that's working, or be confused by what's going on.
Yeah, that's right.
So I changed the idea to make the Bitcoin just be prizes. So the idea started as a kind of demo for the conference, and it sort of evolved because while I was there, people gave me some feedback, and I had some, like I said, new ideas about perhaps just doing prizes instead of collecting coins in the game, and it sort of evolved to where it is now.
Right, yeah. Because I remember one of my colleagues said, "Yeah, you have to subscribe to this game," and the enrollment for the beta version was quite popular, right? It was.
Yeah, I mean, if you're giving away free money, I think anything's going to be popular. But yeah, it was quite. The beta version did get a lot of downloads in terms of, like, I've never had a beta version have that many downloads, and I limited it to 1,000 downloads on Google Play, and it like hit the 1,000 downloads like in a week or something, and I couldn't raise the limit because I think Google must have earmarked me for some extra verification or checking, because I couldn't do any new updates for like over a week. And I couldn't change the number of people who could download it. But fortunately, well, I'm hoping they did check it, because now that means that they're happy with the concept. That
bit of censorship from the old world.
Yeah, I think a little bit double checking. I think because it's there's a lot to, like, when I submitted the game to Apple, they give you a form to basically fill in, and you can put extra documentation and attachments and videos with your submission. But on Google, they don't have that same type of thing. They just retrospectively check things, I believe. So I was a bit worried at the time, but it seems to be okay. I've done a lot of updates since, and there's not been any issues.
Do you have some advice to other developers? I mean, of course, Apple and Google are the most influential, most powerful companies with the App Store and the Play Store. Is it a different process? I mean,
so my first bit of advice would be to read the both app stores have got policies document that you can read to check the rules of the App Store, because there's quite strict rules about giving people money for tasks, giving people money, winning money in like skill-based competitions is generally I would say a grey area, maybe not allowed. Any kind of like paying for entries into a raffle is probably not going to be allowed. And there's quite a lot of things with cryptocurrencies where you're not really supposed to be able to transfer things between games. So in Bitcoin Bounce, there's tickets that you use. You win these tickets and you use those in a raffle at the end of the day to win Bitcoin. But you wouldn't be allowed. I wouldn't be allowed to let the user transfer those tickets to another game, or there's like kind of these special rules that sort of prevent. I think they're kind of designed to prevent people just making cryptocurrencies and selling them to people in the game.
So it's a bit locked in. It's locked to the account, or it's
So you have to. Yeah, basically you can't, and you can't make any purchases outside the game that then apply inside the game. So, for example, in Bitcoin Bounce, I could have an in-app purchase on my website saying, "Please buy this purchase to remove ads in Bitcoin Bounce." And then in the game, it could hide them. But that's actually against Apple's rules. You can't have all purchases related to the game need to be, inside the game via the Apple's purchasing. So yeah, you need to. That's my one bit of advice. First bit is to read the App Store rules because you don't want to waste a lot of money when they just reject your game.
It's quite a booklet, probably.
It's pretty long, and unfortunately, there's a lot of sections that say stuff like at the end of a sentence, it will say etc. So it kind of leaves it open to massive interpretation about what that particular rule means.
What kind of challenges did you meet during the process of Bitcoin Bounce? If we focus on the Lightning Network, you're used to developing, but what kind of challenges did you meet with the Lightning Network?
Specifically for the Lightning Network, it was just a technical challenge, learning how to implement the LNURL protocol. Because I'm a game developer, I don't really tend to do a lot of web development. So I had to, train myself up for a couple of weeks just to understand how to do it properly. So yeah, that was probably the most challenging part. Just the technical side of that. I mean, doing the node, setting the node up is quite straightforward. Because in Bitcoin Bounce, the prizes are just one way that users can't give me money. So to set up my node, I just needed to create channels with all the major wallets that are available on Apple and Google Play Store.
What kind of node do you have? What kind of?
It's I've just used BTC Pay Server to set up a Luna node. It's like a one-click solution. I've used it a few times for other projects, and it's just so easy to set up, and I've never had any issues. And it means that because I've already got BTC Pay Server on the server as well as the node, I can charge people, create invoices, so people could buy advertising space in my game, and I can just create an invoice for them using BTC Pay Server.
It's called Lunar Node?
Yeah, Lunar Node. If you read the BTC Pay Server documentation, there's a section about how to create a BTC Pay Server so you can install it on a few different things. And Lunar Node is just one of the options. And it's literally a few steps, and then you just have to wait, a couple of days for the Bitcoin node to sync. And then you've got your Bitcoin node, and you can have LND Lightning node or C Lightning, and you can use the REST API to connect with your node and do payments and from your apps.
Cool. Yeah, I've heard from Raspberry Blitz, of course, Raspberry Bolt, and MyNode, and Noodle it, but not from Lunar Node. But it's a new name.
Yeah, it's just like AWS. I think they're just a wrapper for AWS. I mean, it's not a specific Bitcoin thing. It's just a server company.
Okay, cool. And if you compare it to normal developing, what kind of challenges the technical challenges did you meet actually? Because you have to. It was like a pressure cooker of Bitcoin and Lightning technology that you have to learn, of course.
Yeah, so I mean, I've had to learn. I didn't really know anything about Lightning when I started. I mean, I knew how to use it in the app, like, and buy stuff, but I didn't really know what was happening under the hood. So yeah, I had to research and just train myself up. I mean, the documentation is actually pretty good on the L&D website, and on the BTC Pay server website, it's really good. I mean, it must be good if I didn't know anything and then I could set it all up without any help, really. There's not a lot of, you can't, when you're a developer, normally when you get stuck, you just search on Google or Stack Overflow and you can find the answer to your problem.
Yeah.
But with Bitcoin and Lightning, it's not as easy as that, because not many people have had the problem you've had. So you search for these issues and you can't find the solution. But luckily, as I said, the documentation is very good.
In what phase is the game now? You had 1,000 beta users. What are the plans for the coming months or this year?
So the game now is actually live on the App Store and Google Play in Europe,
cool.
UK, and US. It's not in the beta anymore. Like, it's actually visible on the stores. I'm not promoting it massively. I'm just trying to ease my way into it, and don't want to get too many users too quick, if you know what I mean. But I mean, that would be a great problem to have. I'm not exactly having that problem right now. But yeah, so it's still available on as beta on countries that I haven't enabled it for yet. But the plan is to work on the monetization of the game and improve how much money I can generate through ads, but also to increase the prize money within the game to make it a bit more enticing. Because at the moment, the prize money is quite low, just because it's been a challenge to get decent converting advertising partners in the game. I think it's the nature of the game might require some different styles of advertising. So that's what I'm working on at the moment, and also working on. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. What kind of answers do you get from advertisers? Because
there's a couple of problems, some friction that I've had. So I did approach a publisher to publish the game, because the statistics for the game are very good in terms of how many players play consecutively each day. They're way above the requirements for a publisher to take it on. So I approached a publisher and they're very interested in the game, but they use Facebook ads to promote the game, or to promote the games they publish. And Facebook won't allow advertisements for products and services that are to do with crypto unless they go through a very complicated vetting process. So yeah, on that side, so advertising your own game is very tricky, because a lot of advertising networks won't let you advertise the game. Google probably wouldn't either. So it makes it very hard to scale the game up to get more users. And then on the other side, advertisers are kind of reluctant to have their adverts in a crypto game, and also one that you can win money in. So it's 50-50 on that. Some advertising networks have been okay with it, and then some have just said no, we don't want our adverts in that game. So it's all like, I'd say the hardest thing so far has been the sort of social and problems with finding business partners rather than actually implementing the Lightning network into a game.
Monetizing the game, that's the challenge.
Yeah. And I think it's just got to be some old-fashioned face-to-face networking with, account managers at these ad companies, so they don't think you're a scammer, and you can explain to them how the game is working and all the thoughtfulness you've gone through to make sure the advertisements are going to convert well. They're not just going to be thrown in there and not perform well for their clients. So,
and within the crypto space itself, like brokers, exchanges, that kind of type of advertisers.
Yeah, I think that would work really well. I haven't. No one's approached me yet, and I haven't actually approached anyone else yet because there's not a lot of traffic in the game. Not really enough traffic in the game yet in terms of number of ads per day. But yeah, that's definitely something that's interesting, and perhaps because the game is kind of designed to onboard people to Lightning, then there might be opportunities for specific wallets if they want to promote their wallet in the game and get the new users to their wallet. There's obviously a advertising opportunity there for them. But at the moment, I just recommend or link users to wallets that I think are working well. I expect once everyone's all these big companies have started to monetize their Lightning integrations, they'll need to find channels to advertise through, at which point hopefully I'll have a lot more traffic. At the moment, my primary goal is to make sure the game is fun and I'm not breaking any App Store rules. Because I have got ads in the game, so it's not something I'm desperate to try and get. But obviously, I think crypto ads would be much more appropriate in the game, especially as the game has a lot of video ads. So it's an opportunity for, say, like a podcaster or a new service to show tutorials or explain how their new website works via the video ads. There's a kind of onboarding the user with videos, basically, to show them how it all works, rather than the traditional type of ads at the moment, which is not at the moment. My game just shows other game ads, and if you download one of the other games that I promote, I'll get paid advertising revenue.
Yeah, maybe it's a way for companies to get new customers, of course, and because the crypto traders and gamers are much alike. I think it's a bit of a same breed. So
yeah,
that seems like a good match. So because it's all self-funded and you all developed it all by yourself, right? I mean, I looked on LinkedIn and Thunder Games is a one-man show.
There's two of us.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not very active on LinkedIn, so I haven't updated the second person. But yeah, there's two of us. A long-time developer I've worked with called Tim. We've worked on the games together since he joined with me about 2015.
Okay.
2014. And he didn't really know anything about Bitcoin. I've had to teach him the past few months how it all works. He's enjoying it.
He's now a Bitcoiner.
He is actually, yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I mean, a few technical questions. I mean, a colleague of mine had a good question. He said, "Is it the building of these Lightning Network invoices? Is it like a plug and play process to actually code that with the current SDKs, or is it?"
So yeah, I did my own implementation. of LNURL, which is just a protocol, because it's quite easy to implement. It was just difficult to understand. It was only 600 lines of code or something, which is not very much. But just to understand it is quite a steep learning curve. But since I've done my own one, there's some new services that have come out, such as Zebedee, which they have an SDK which allows gamers and potentially app developers in general to have more of a plug-and-play approach. So you don't have to implement the LNURL protocol yourself. You can use their SDK, and they set up a wallet for you. LNpay.co is another company, and OpenNode. So you don't have to do it yourself. I just like to do things the hard way. And also I like the idea of the self-sovereign game developer, where you still not using the middleman, because those services, although they're really good, they're a middleman. So it's kind of nice if you can do it yourself, but it's a steep learning curve.
Yeah. What is actually necessary to develop more games? I mean, is there something lacking in the current Lightning network structure? Or
so for mobile, there's really only one thing you can do, which is give people prizes in some shape or form. Or like it can be like how I've done it as a raffle, or it could be you can collect coin satoshis as you play the game, or it could just be like a sats back type thing. So there's not really anything new, and that's limited because you can only do those things because of the App Store rules as they stand today. So the technology that we've currently got on Lightning can do all of the stuff that you're allowed to do on the App Store. So there's not really anything new in terms of mobile gaming, because anything new probably won't be allowed. But there is potential for PC gaming to have more, be a bit more creative. For example, like Satoshi's games have got their new Light Night game that's coming out soon. I think the beta might be coming out in a couple of weeks. And they've got like a whole circular economy where you can buy things for Bitcoin and then you can sell things that you win for Bitcoin.
Okay.
So I think if they can do that, then most of the everything you really need is already there in the protocol.
Is that the next step to build a PC game for you guys? Or is it?
It's kind of not on the. It's not on the horizon. So I'm trying to think of trying to get the mobile games to be profitable and like solve the problems of trying to find places to advertise the game where you're allowed, and find advertisers that want to advertise in the game because they don't mind crypto. There's quite a lot of issues to solve. So that's what I'm just focusing on one thing. I may do a PC game as an experimental thing. But yeah, the focus is to try and get a mobile game or a selection of mobile games that make enough money to sort of have a tiny little business going that's actually, profitable, rather than just an experimental game,
Yeah. Okay. Because it's just so early stage now. I mean, the whole Satoshi games, they are not really the big game houses at this moment in Bitcoin.
Yeah, and I think it's because number one, you need to believe in Bitcoin, and number two, if you don't believe in Bitcoin, or you just casually believe in it, then you're not going to build a game with it unless you've seen success that you can think you can replicate. So until there's like some game that grosses $1 million or something out of nowhere, then no one outside of the crypto community is going to attempt it, because it's such a massive risk on something you don't necessarily believe in anyway.
Yeah.
So that's where I see what, like, the two worlds aren't really overlapping, because not many people believe in Bitcoin truly and understand the fundamentals of it. And then there's not many people are willing to take the risk and build a business on top of it when no one has proven that it can be done, like in gaming.
There's no Farmville yet, no Candy Crush yet.
Yes, exactly right. Yeah, we need something like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be a completely new concept, but something that proves that you can put Bitcoin in a game in a way that players engage with. And I think Bitcoin Bounce is doing very well with that, because without Bitcoin in that game, I don't think it would be anywhere near as played as it is. So I'm confident that it can be achieved. It's just going to take a bit of trial and error and iterating on the concepts.
Yeah. So why do you think Bitcoin is not that popular, actually? I mean, how do you explain Bitcoin to your friends, family, etc.?
Yeah, so I'm from just out on the outskirts of London, and a lot of my friends work in banks and insurance and finance industry. And I don't meet a lot of people who, I don't know why they don't believe in it. They just don't understand it, I guess. And that was one of the reasons I made the game Bitcoin Bounce in the way that I've designed it. I wanted to make a game I could just give to my friends. They didn't have to learn anything about Bitcoin in the game at all. It was just, they could play a game and then they would win some Bitcoin at the end of the day. And then if they wanted to learn how to cash it out, then they could start, falling down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
They'll be incentivized to learn a little bit, because they'll get the money out of the game. Otherwise, they're not going to get it. So it's kind of my sort of way to get my friends to try some Bitcoin. And they all downloaded the game before I did the beta. I sent it to my friends, and
yeah, of course.
And they were saying to me, "Oh, I don't like your game, Jack. I don't like your game." And they were telling me why the game was rubbish. And then, like 2 weeks later, they were all in our WhatsApp group saying how many Satoshis they'd got, and the amount of Satoshis they won, it was almost like a leaderboard between them, like who collected the most. So even though the game wasn't, in their view, good enough, they still played it for way longer than they thought they would, just because they wanted to win some Bitcoin. And some of them have become interested in it and asked me more questions. And that's a lot of the feedback I've got from the beta, is that people are using it to introduce people to games, because it's a bit of a fun sort of faucet.
Cool. So actually, it got great appeal with finance people in particular, perhaps.
Yeah, so they can try it without having to. It's just like a frictionless way to try it, isn't it? You don't need to create an account on Coinbase or anything. You just play a game and then download another app, which is your wallet, and you don't have to sign up in those wallets or anything. You just literally download it and then cash out your Bitcoin. So it's a really good way to get people downloading a wallet. So I'm pleased that it's working. Like, that's what I designed it for, and it seems to be that's what people are using it for, as well as playing it and competing. So I haven't actually had much feedback in terms of the way that I've done the Bitcoin as a prize. Most of the feedback is just about making the game better. So that's a positive. I think I feel like I've put enough Bitcoin in there, but it's not over the top,
Yeah, and even for kids can also play the game, right? I mean, it's...
Well, I've actually put... because I'm a bit unsure about there's this winning a prize every day, but the prize is a variable prize. So it's almost like a slot machine mechanic, where it's a free slot machine, but it's like a slot machine mechanic, and that type of mechanic is quite addictive. That's like what Facebook and Instagram, they always use the same mechanic. When you put a post up, you won't know how many likes you're going to get. The randomness of it gets you addicted to checking, basically. And it's the same with slot machines, and it's the same with this mechanic in Bitcoin Bounce. It's kind of addictive things that you want to see how much you won, because it's different every time. So put it as a 18 plus on the app stores, because I think it's more appropriate. But like, if a parent wants to let their kid play it, I don't see any issue with it, because it's only like those sort of coin dozer games. You get the seaside, you just win you put a few pence in, don't you? A few coins, and then coins come out the tray at the bottom. It's up to the parent, really, but I decided just to put it as a 18 plus.
Yeah, better safe than sorry. So, I mean, if we look at the current situation in the world, etc., you would expect that people are playing more games because of the coronavirus, etc. People are more attached to their home. So perhaps you get more users.
Yeah, hopefully the crisis won't last all year or something. But yeah, I think we'll definitely encourage people to play a bit more. But because the economy might turn down, it will mean that there'll be less budget for advertisers to spend money, and people will pay less on in-app purchases to save money. So even though people play more, I think it wouldn't actually necessarily work out as more money for me.
Correct.
But hopefully, people will have a bit more time to learn about Bitcoin as well.
Yeah, what are your expectations about Bitcoin as a technology, or as it's actually payment technology for some people. It's an asset, for other people it's of course more of also a protocol, a belief, etc. What's Bitcoin for you?
I think it's all of those things. I do believe in the sort of thesis that it's like a settlement layer. Like layer one is for the settlement of large transactions, and that can be a store of value. I do buy into that. I think it's unproven, but I think I think Bitcoin on the on-chain is definitely why you can just have some savings in there, and it's kind of a speculative savings vehicle. But because I've followed Bitcoin for such a long time and seen it when it was like $20 or something like that, I sort of do believe it. And then, the Lightning Network is definitely enabling payments. I don't really see it working in the real world. I think it's going to take off on the internet first, like in chat rooms, and I like seeing on Telegram these bots that you can send each other tips and things. And the paywalls I like, as I'm actually in a very terrible local band, and we're considering doing like streamed gigs on YouTube or something, and using Bitcoin as a paywall for that kind of thing.
What's the band called, actually?
It's called Sans Wilfred.
Okay, and what kind of music?
It's kind of like I'd call it rock music, kind of a bit like Radiohead. So it's a bit of a depressing rock. So I do see the Lightning Network as kind of payments online rather than the traditional coffee shop narrative, and the micro payments specifically.
So more of the streaming money kind of narrative that
Yeah, I definitely think gaming is the way to experiment with all these ideas, because different games have completely different requirements for monetization, and different platforms of like PC versus mobile will be different again. So there's lots of scope for experimenting with the different payment options. And yeah, so they could be like Zebedee have got this demo game that they take to conferences, which is two players fighting each other, like Street Fighter game. And the life bar is like your number of sats you've got. And like, so if you beat someone up quicker, you'll win more of their sats than they take off you. And
yeah, well, that's from the London Bitcoin conference, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Nice.
That'd be excellent.
Okay, cool. So thank you very much, Jack. And have a nice night, nice evening in London.
Cheers, you too. Thanks for having me.